What's going on, guys? It's Bel Air here. Have you ever wondered what would happen if we took all 48 of the competitors who participated at the major and we completely randomized the teams that they were on? Who would win? Just me? Well, maybe now you. Maybe I've piqued your interest. And if so, buckle up because I have done just that. If you guys are longtime fans of the channel, you have seen the major randomizer before. This time we got a snappy name, the Raleigh Randomizer. Big fan of alliteration over here in the Bel Air household. What is the Raleigh Randomizer? Well, I basically told you. But guys, it's not that simple. We got a whole deal for you. Let me run you through the tools, all the nooks and crannies real quick of this English muffin that we call this YouTube video. And then we'll get right into it. So we cannot start this without looking at this sheet. You guys are probably familiar with it. And if you're saying, where do I know this sheet from? It's probably because of Cody VRL. Shout out to Cody on Twitter. If you've ever done any of his prediction sheets, I'm sure you have if you're watching this video. I reached out to Cody and he was kind enough to help me, well, not help me figure it out, but essentially give me the template to make this happen. And furthermore, as you might have seen, I went through and created 16 completely random. Let's put this like what, 175? Completely random organizations to represent our teams. So let's go ahead and just do the first one, and you guys can get a feel for this exercise. The only caveats I want to give this before we really rip off this Beyblade. I don't know. Too many metaphors early in the video. Reel it in, Bel Air. The only caveats: a team cannot have more than one player on the team. So even if the randomizer was like, "Hey, reveal Kofer and Amphis," too bad. Reveal and Kofer got to get split up. The other thing: no language barriers. Don't worry about any of that. This is just for the love of the game. And yeah, my reasoning for stuff, I'll kind of get into that as I go along. But without further ado, let's start off with Reapers Gaming, Eugen Exotic, and VK Salen going up against Arctic Gaming, which is Scribbles, Swift, and Lost. If you guys know me, big fan of this team, especially Swift and Lost. They're two of my Sam boys. Really big fans of them, especially Swift. I've sung Swift's praises on this channel quite a bit this season. I like how he plays. Gave him a fist bump at the major, so we're brothers, is what we are. And Scribbles as well, who has had a great season and an even better split. Very, very impressed by him defensively, but also with this new roster, he's come alive offensively as well and picked his spots. And then on the other side, of course, Reapers, Eugen, another young talent, first LAN, exotic former world champion and world champ MVP, and the much maligned VK Salen of Foot Esports. So we're kind of taking this is a witch's concoction. This is a witch's brew of variables. Not only individual player accolades, quality, how I think they mesh as a team. Does this team make sense on the pitch? And how did they perform within the context of the major? So, for example, the fact that Lost and Scribbles didn't make a top 8 could factor in to, how we're doing these head-to-heads and things of that nature. Also, Bel Air's personal preference will play into this a bit. And also, before we really dive in, how's this for it's a big intro section. I went through and pulled a bunch of raw data. Shout out to Direct, who has a bunch of great stuff. I always recommend him with basically every piece of content that I put out. I pulled a bunch of raw data from Direct, but also some stuff from Ball Chasing as well. But ultimately, I boiled it down. I have a bunch of pivot tables and stuff, but ultimately, I boiled this down to just this stuff so we can just like eye test it. I'm already long-winded, so I don't want to turn this into like this whole thing. So yeah, if you're green, you're in the top 5, red bottom 5. You guys get it. So without further ado, let's get going. Let's start out with Reapers and Arctic, like we talked about. The first thing that hops off the page is that I really like this team. I think this team would be elite defensively, and also just some of the creativity from some of the individuals really stands out. I do wonder if this team would struggle if they can't get it going offensively. They could go through some dry spells, I think, because um, where's the passing coming from on this team? The answer is probably lost. And then on the other side, Yujin and Exotic, great duo. The weakest player on the pitch is going to be VK Salen, which I always think is important to identify who are the best and worst players. This is not a good one, guys. I have too much energy. I'm too excited. So we'll kind of ease through this first one. Let's talk about Big Yeti Esports going up against V Formation. So Big Yeti is Magic Bear, Sphinx, and Raleigh. And let me zoom in for you guys so you can kind of see these a little better. What if we went, 200 is as far as you can go. That's fine. And let's go here so you guys can't see just yet. No, let's not be ridiculous. Big Yeti, Magic Bear, Sphinx, Drali. Funny enough, Magic Bear and Sphinx were also a tandem who were randomized together and were drafted by Big Yeti when we did the Birmingham version of the randomizer. So they picked up Drali. I think he could help improve this roster. And then on the other side, V Formation, Vatira, aptly named V Formation behind their talisman Vatira. Jorias, who just made a grand finals, and Torres 8332, I think is his digits behind that, of Foot Esports. I love this team. I feel like it makes a lot of sense on the pitch. Drali is kind of your front man, getting up a lot of shots. Magic Bear and Sphinx are dynamic on the ball in their own rights, but they're also both great facilitators for their individual teams. So making space for Drali to kind of operate. He can be that driving force, and then the two of them finishing alongside him is great. I do worry about you probably have to have Magic Bear as your defensive third, just because, just like commonly within rotations, because I don't know if Sphinx has the chops to really defend against an onslaught of Vatira attacks. But this V Formation team, they really struggle to score, and of course this isn't a perfect, but this is all made up anyways, guys. But they really struggle to score. Actually, the lowest goals per game of anyone. That is in a big part due to the fact that Torres only had 4 goals, I think, this entire event, which is a bummer for him. So the fact that they're going to struggle, I think, could play a factor. I'm going to call this one another 3-2. Going to be a lot of game 5s and game 7s in Belleair's made up fantasy land. All right. Battle of the Horses here. We have Rise, Juicy, and Super Lucky of Prize Horse GG going up against the Stallions, Atomic, Kaliers, and Kaka. Atomic and Kaliers, 2 excellent players. I like what Kaka can do on the ball as well. I try and remind myself that these teams and players will probably do better in these situations, than they would on their own, right? Kaka with Kaliers and Atomic is probably going to be an elevated version of himself, as opposed to being with Super Lucky and Amphis, right? It's just a better situation. You're going to shine a little more. The first thing that stands out to me, besides the Atomic and Kaliers pairing, is Rise. I felt like Rise was excellent over the course of this event. Really helped Twisted Minds get to where they needed to be. Didn't always show up on the stat sheet, but his ability to cut out offensive attacks, and not only his demos, but his bumps as well, which don't show up, were huge. With that being said, I do think that this team is going to be searching for their scoring. I'm going to put it here and say 3-1. All right, now we're getting into some of the front runners in my perspective. This is Vision Quest, Zen, Chronic, and Kofor. If you really take a step back and think about these teams on the pitch, I feel like this one makes a ton of sense. None of the players are having to rotate out of the roles that they service for their teams currently. You have Chronic as a very deep third, cleaning things up defensively. He's very comfortable in that role. It's exactly what he's doing for Ultimates. Kofor as an upfield chaos maker, very, very speedy. And then Zen kind of vacillating between the two. As a great attacker as well. Going up against Stizzy and First Killer, which is not a bad duo, especially when you add a vocal leader in Amphis. Somebody who has played in a lot of lands, a lot of games, as it would be. But I do kind of worry about like who is doing what for this team. I think that Stizzy slots in really nice with Dignitas because Jack plays Jack's role, Jorius plays Jorius' role. This is going to be a lot of First Killer and Stizzy trying to find his spots. So this team is very talented. They could go deep, but I think that this is going to be a 3-1 to start things out. Kofor, land debut. Congratulations. Big early win. Next, we have Cardinal Gaming. Beast Mode, Yan. What an offensive duo, huh? Really fun on the ball and Catalysm, anchoring them defensively. Has been to a couple of lands, not only with Virtus Pro, Luminosity Gaming, which is the same roster, but also Evil Geniuses back in the day. What was that, like Winter 22, I think, with Ivan and Rizex 45, and that's when is that the same land when G2 ended up winning it? I think it is. And then on the other side, Naupo, Rawas, and Justin. How's that for a trio of Dragonfire? Great name. I don't know who the graphic designer was on all of these. I borrowed all of these logos. Granted, I pay for them via my Canva premium subscription. But I really like that Dragonfire logo. It's dope. It's one of my favorites. I really like Paladin as well, but we'll get to them. Look, Beast Mode Yan, super talented. Catalysm did not have Catalysm and Virtus Pro did not have a great event. Furia ended up not making a top 8. Beast Mode and NRG typically slow starters, and this team is just all juice. So I think that they're going to shock Cardinal Gaming to start things out. Paladin, Drufinho, TRK, the major champion, and Torsas going up against the Banana Boys. Banana Head is always the anchor for this team, and Leoro of Foot, who was their best player in KV1, who had a great event for Team Secret. Despite KV1 and Team Secret looking great, and me thinking Banana Head is the best player on Wildcard, and Leoro being the best player for his team, I think we can agree that there's a talent deficit here, right? I'm going to go 3-1 for Paladin. The 3 Eagles, Atomic with a K, Cheese, and Appjack. Love that roster. That roster, this one here, if this were real, the 4 rosters that I would want to see is 3 Eagles, Dragonfire, Vision Quest, and Arctic Gaming. I just love that team. I think those would be really exciting. Atomic, Cheese, and Abjack going up against a newcomer. This is a new team that I made for you guys. You're welcome. It's not the same 16. The Solar Lions. Seoul, the Korean. You guys got it. Of Atao, Monkey Moon, and Mata. Really great roster. Like that team a lot. What are we thinking here? What are we thinking? Let's slow down for a second and really analyze this one. Let's try and do a couple of those around. Why don't we? I was really impressed by Atomic for Twisted Minds. In some big moments, hit some big shots, some big assists, especially on the stage. We're not at the stage yet, though. But he's great offensively. I think you kind of have Appjack as like a spearhead. Atomic is playing off of that, and Cheese is probably your finisher. I do worry about this team defensively, though. On the other side, Atao probably going back into a leading role, like what we saw from him on Team Liquid alongside Oski. But even last season with Carmine Core, he was kind of the main on the ball player. We even saw some of that in Birmingham as well. Monkey Moon, great facilitator. And Mata, this is a great situation for him. Despite me loving Three Eagles, I think this is going to be a shocking start for the Solar Lions, getting out early here. Final matchup of round 1. Saltwater Gaming, and all in a it's an American Southern alligator logo, and then we got 3 North Americans, Daniel Reveal and LJ, going up against Evergreen. Seiko does not have the strongest teammates in the world here. Despite me really liking Sosa and Fever being a player who has generated some buzz domestically, I'm going to go 3-1 for this one. So now you guys kind of get the exercise, right? Let me now point out the one mistake that I made, and we'll move past it. So see, Cody's sheets are so sick because there's all of these like qualifiers in order to like make it work. I deleted all of that information for this one cell. Don't worry, it doesn't break everything. It's the only one I did it for, but I could not fix it, and I'm not going to bother Cody over that. So let's do our O1s first, why don't we? And see who's really up against it. Eugen and Exotic. Eugen going up against his teammate here in Seiko. I think they right the ship. I think VK Salen is kind of a front physical player. And then Eugen just doing his kind of dynamic stuff on the ball. Exotic, a great finisher and good for a couple like off tempo, like slow it down plays a game. I think that they are going to get the best of Evergreen. Think Rise and Juicy. This team's going to struggle to score as well. I think they might try and do something a little funky where actually Locky is like your top offensive weapon. They try and like play into the midfield where it's like Rise creating chaos but not kind of trying to overstep, and then Juicy is kind of your third but a really high third who's kind of fluctuating. And Locky just trying to go pressure, and you try and just find your gaps against the defense. I think they're going to overwhelm the Banana Boys here. All right, Vatira in an 0-1. You don't see that very often, do you? I wonder how many times in his career he's dropped down there. Jorius, also another player who historically has done very, very well in Swiss stages. This team is going to be one that's going to struggle to score as well. But I do think that Vatira can turn it on, and we even saw Jorius. I mean, it was a flash in the pan, but and he did have some great moments. But I'm recollecting that game 5 that they ended up losing the final game of the tournament, but he had 2 shots that were just like unbelievable. Torres did not have a good event, but he was a bright spot for them for Foot in Birmingham. So in a close shocker, I think they're going to right the ship against Shuriken. Sending them into the 0-2. They are not happy with themselves. First Killer and Stizzy being down there is rough. Finally, Battle of the Birds. I might just play favoritism here and say I really, really like this team, but let's look at this one for a second. Why don't we? Let's get the Birds in order. Cardinals here, and then where's the other team that we're looking for? 3 Eagles. Let's pull them up against Cardinal and kind of see what we're looking at here. So 2 teams that score in bunches. 3 Eagles definitely more assists, which makes sense just the players they have on the roster. This is a pretty even one here until we get to demos. 3 Eagles can get very, very physical with this team here, especially Catalysm. Probably a slower, more grounded player can open up some gaps. Beast Mode is going to have to scramble back. This is really going to be a battle of boost. We saw teams really starve out Furia and put them in tough spots. I mean, even in the closeout against Twisted Minds, I think it was the most boost stolen in a game by a player in Rise. I could be getting my wires crossed, but I know for sure that Furia only got up a single shot. So if they can get super physical and dodge some demos as well, I think that will serve them well. A team that's going to communicate well with Jack. I think that they are going to pull off a big victory there. 2 teams here that are not going to be happy to be in the 0-2s. That's the difficult and fun thing of this exercise, where I tried to make them really even. So this is going to be a tough a tough one to do. All right, I don't know who this is. I do. It's Arctic. We haven't seen them down here or up here. So Arctic, Scribbles, Swift, and Lost going up against the Stallions, Atomic, Clears, and Kaka. This team's definitely going to be able to score. I was very impressed by Atomic, especially in some of those OTs they found themselves on stage, crawling out of tough spots. He was put in tough spots, even on Neo Tokyo. Into the corner. And NRG, the only team to make top fours at Raleigh and Birmingham, which is certainly something that's very impressive. But will they be able to break down this defense enough? I think that all three of these players are very, very good on the goal line. Will they be able to get some transition goals is the question. I think they'll get a couple. Stallion's a very strong team, but a close loss here. I'm going to take Arctic. All right. Is there one of these we can get out of the way real quick? Look, TRK is excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I have him as a top 10 player in the world. That might change now, but on my top 50 pyramid currently, he is. But I just think this Dragonfire team has so much firepower. Pun partially intended. I think they're going to get an easy one there against a Torsos who struggled, and also against Rafinha who struggled. Let's get this one out of the way as well. Let's hop down here actually. Saltwater. I wasn't super impressed by any of these three players, despite Daniel and NRG making that top four. LJ, I want to go back and watch some more tape because some of this got finished before I was on location. But I felt like he had a performance that could have improved. Chronic also not a great spot for him there. And Reveal, SSG was a 1-3 team. And on the opposite side, despite Kofer and Chronic teammates being on this side, I just feel like this team makes a ton of sense, like we talked about. But again, Daniel is like a defender, a opportunity creator. LJ is a finisher. Although we did see the two of them ironically on SSG before, which is where Reveal is currently, and we've come full circle. I'm going to give the edge to Vision Quest in this one. And then up top, I'm going to take the Solar Lions over Big Yeti. All right, let's go down. Oh, we're done with this round. Let's move on to round 3. Before we do, so I can catch my breath for a second, let me ask you guys, which of these teams, if this were a real exercise, would you be most excited to see, just to see what it would be like? And also, which team would you be rooting for? Let me know in the comments below. Let's do our 1-1s first. No hard feelings in the 1-1. Everybody stays alive. Do any of these pop out as easy ones to do? Of course not. But I do think that I like Saltwater, just, gut check over Reaper. I do think that I prefer 3 Eagles over Paladin. I really like the Paladin logo. If you guys want my opinion, I think Paladin is sick. I also like these 3 too. I like Saltwater's logo. I like Prize Horse GG, and I like V Formations as well. This jersey would go really, really hard. The V formation jerseys would be super tough as well. I think you could do like the V pattern down the middle. Those would be super dope. Then get a Chiquita Banana sponsorship patch on this one. All right, let's get back to brass tacks. Stallions V formation. Let's cite our sheet. Why don't we? Stallions V form. Oh, they're right next to each other. Perfect. Stallions definitely scoring more. And V formation really just like kind of running it down the middle all the way across. This is probably a counterattack team. Could they pull off counterattacks? That was the big reason why I picked Arctic Gaming to win here was counters. Are they going to get beat twice in a row? I think that this is probably the toughest team in the exercise because I could put Vatira and Joris with Torres. Joris and Torres. let's skip that one and come back to it. I think that Raleigh and the boys are going to bounce back and get a big win here. And then I will take Stallions over B formation in a close one. All right, let's go 0-2s. Let's send some people home. Fortunately for me, Shuriken and Cardinal are not going up against each other because that would have brought a tear to my eye. I think this is an easier exercise. The question is, how dominant are these wins? I think this would be a 3-1. Beast Mode and Yan say, putting our foot down. We've seen all three of these players also kind of bow out at this point in the tournament before, although with our first team secret player being gone, I do want to say KV1, especially in that round 5, it was against Ultimates, and then in that top 8 against Gentlemates, very, very impressed by KV1 and Mata for that, for a fact. And then here, let's go through one again. Seiko, back to the drawing board. Hopping up top, man, I think Dragonfire seemed like an easy one to send in, just dominating the competition, especially in Swiss, similar to how Falcons were able to cruise through Swiss. I think they only lost one game. They only lost one game in the Swiss, and it was in their first round matchup against Team Secret. Then they had a clean sheet besides that. Dragonfire are that version of this. Zen and Monkey Moon, teammates going up against one another. What do we think about this one? It's 2-0, so it's not like there's a ton of nerves, but this is a new spot for Chronic. Mata's never been in a 2-0 position before. Chronic really hasn't either. Zen was excellent in the Swiss. He was good in the playoffs too. But early on, I mean, this is everything. Shout out Direct. I think I already shouted him out earlier, but this is his board. I shout him out in as much of my content as I can. I use his content and appreciate his work ceaselessly. Zen almost had a goal per game, which is unbelievable. Who else is up here from this matchup? Excuse me, I can't recall. Atau, Monkey Moon, Mata, Zen, Chronic, Kofer. Mata's kind of down here. So is Monkey Moon. They're both great facilitators. Although Mata was more of just like a playmaker overall in this one. This is goals, right? And then we have assists over here. Yeah, Mata's not super high on this list either. This is where Monkey Moon really shines. Just, allowing Atau to do Atau things. But with that being said, Atau was not all of Carmine Core were a little lower than normal this time around. How is Atau shooting? 0.63 goals on some lofty shooting, some lofty shots that probably doesn't equal a great percentage. It doesn't. So Monkey can get you the ball all day long, but if you can't finish, where's Mata at? He's solid. And then on the other end, who are we looking for? No lights out shooters in this matchup. But let's just go ahead and make a decision here. Why don't we? My just gut is going this way. So let's do that. All right, let's move on. Round 4. Let's do the lowers first. Rip the Band-Aid off. Why don't we? Hey, the two teams that I said good thing they're not in the 0-2 because that would be hard, are matching up against one another. Let's try and postpone that if we could. Rise, Juicy Locky, Drufinio, TRK, Torsos. Torsos, third fastest player, in the event. Banana Head was the fastest player. So upfield, trying to make stuff happen. TRK, a very fast player as well. Drufinio is not as much so. And then on the other side, Rise, a player who can play up tempo with Twisted Minds. And then two kind of slower players in Juicy and Locky. who's going to really show up big and not go down without a fight. On this side, we of course have TRK. Torsos, this is a common spot for him, and Jaffinio did not play excellent as a piece of Furia. And then on the other side, Rise and Juicy. Maybe there's like, hey, you know, former land champion and former land champion MVP. Maybe they just say not now, and they send our first Falcon home earlier than anticipated. Um, I'm not gonna overthink it because we'll be here all day, but this is one that if you were like, hey, this is like really think about this, I'd give a lot of thought to this matchup. Vatira, Jorius, and Torres going up against Eugen, Exotic, VK Salen, 2-foot players as an attachment. Does it make the exercise easier if you just say pick the next best or the duo? I think I'd probably take Vatira and Jorius over Eugen and Exotic, and I will. I will. That's a bummer because I really like both of those players. I like that pairing. I actually got to meet Eugen briefly in Raleigh. Will from Shift and I walked up to him, talked to him for a couple minutes. Super nice dude. Great English too. So for what it's worth. And then finally Shuriken going up against Cardinal, who's going home earlier than they want to. Beast Mode and Yan, both very creative players. Stizzy makes a grand finals. First killer, a player that at several points over the course of Raleigh, I was sitting there thinking, like, is he actually the best player in North America? I don't know if I think he is, but big first killer guy. This is tough. I'm gonna skip it for now. Isn't this a funky exercise? Because I'm sure you guys sitting at home, there's some of you watching who are like, obviously this team, it's Beast Mode and Yan. What are we even doing here? And then there's some of you who are like, Stizzy made grand finals, first killer. Okay, let me not repeat what I just said. Let's go back up top. 3 Eagles against a Big Yeti. Drali. 2-1. This is to qualify for playoffs, right? Atomic and Cheese. This is the potential first top 8 for Cheese. First top 8 for Sphinx. And a potential first top 8 for Magic Bear, I think. Optic, I don't think that AJ Reddle's Magic Bear made a top 8, that is. So a lot on the line. Inversely, I was very, very impressed by Atomic over the course of this event. Cheese quickly becoming one of my favorite players in Rocket League, and I think that Appjack is criminally underrated. So let's go ahead and take them here, and I bet every one of these games is just like game 5. This is too tough for me to parse. In Classic Bel Air, I want everybody to do well. One of my favorite teams going up against a team that's been doing surprisingly well in this exercise so far. Arctic Gaming, solid logo, going up against Saltwater GG, great logo. I think the best player on the pitch is Daniel. I think the second best player on the pitch is Lost. Then probably LJ, Swift, Revealer Scribbles. And even they have been rising tremendously. Coming in as the second seed from North America is wild. Look, you got your defender, and you got your you could even have Reveal be like a lead playmaker, even though currently it's Kofor. You probably want LJ to be that, kind of a very on the ball. And then on the other side, let's look at our stats, why don't we? This is Arctic going up against Saltwater. Let's pull them up here. Just look. Small differential. getting up like the same amount of shots. Okay, so this is a high shooting affair, right? Like what's like high shooting? Nines, and then these teams are like right here. They're basically at like top 5 range. So who would this benefit if it were like a track meet, like really back and forth? Um, I'm not always doing cartwheels over some of LJ's transition defense, although his ability to break out and get going offensively is very, very impressive. Um, this team can get up a lot of shots. I really like their defense. I'm going to take Arctic here, even if it's controversial. And then up top, Solar Lions going up against the Stallions. Let's make this quick. Best player on the pitch, generally speaking, you could make arguments for Clears had an excellent event, but I think that the argument probably comes down to Atow, Monkey, or Atomic if we're just like thinking like big picture community. And the weakest player is probably Kaka on this roster. So let's go. Just because I've been doing game 5s all over, let's make it a 4-game series. Why don't we? And then down here, Stizzy and First Killer, Amphis, Beast Mode, Yan, Catalysm. Let's look at this, and then we're just gonna pull the trigger real quick, or else we'll just sit here. This is Cardinal going up against Shuriken. Let's pull this down. Pretty even. Cardinal, not a team that's finding a lot of connective tissue between themselves, which makes sense. It's your turn, my turn, probably between Yan and Beast Mode, with Catalysm cleaning up when he can. Although he's probably not going to have a lot of boost, so he'll probably have to sit pretty deep, leave some gaps in the midfield, because Beast Mode and Yan really need their boost. And neither of them are like top tier on small pads that I recollect. They're not like a TRK level pad player. Not a lot of demos from Cardinal either, so they're really not going to be able to shake up this team on the other end, who can probably just move the ball in transition. Amph is pretty physical. And a shocker, 32 to... I'm going to go 3-2. Beast Mode and Yan eliminated earlier than I want. Really bummed out because I love Beast Mode a lot. I think Yan, I had him as a top 10 player as well. But I was so impressed by Stizzy and Raleigh, and I think First Killer is just that guy. And then finally, round 5s. Before we do that, I don't have any esports jerseys, but the other day I was going through my closet, and I got like some old. I have like 3 LeBron jerseys, because in real life we have the same name, Bel Air Easter egg, um, and I also have like an old like Ben Gordon Chicago Bulls jersey. The point being, I was like, should I like get back into jerseys? I don't know. And if I had to have a jersey from one of these players right here in this quadrant, or in this whatever, who would I pick? I think first things first, which jerseys would be like super dope? I think these bottom 3 would be, I love these like color schemes, like black, purple, white, and then like this sick mixture that we have for saltwater. And then I already told you the V formation. I already got this one planned out for you guys. I think a juicy prize horse would be pretty sick. I gotta tell you, LJ. It just doesn't look cool enough on the back of the jersey because you're used to like a name. You know what I mean? Um, so on this one, I think like a Dan or a Reveal Saltwater would be pretty tough too. All right, let's get into this. Let's just do some of these quick. Why don't we? Or else we'll sit here all day. Atomic makes a top 4. Kalir's MVP. Huge moment for Kaka finally getting in. Although we saw him be a part of an overwhelming like Cinderella run in EWC when he was with Jorias and Hunter. So crazier things have happened. Just wasn't super impressed by any of these 3 players up to their standard. They had great events, but I anticipated more from them. Which one of these is easier to do? Man, this one's super tough. Is this a reverse sweep potentially for Shuriken? I think it is, right? Yeah, they were 0-2. They win. They win here. Can they pull it off, or will they just play with our hearts. Let's do prize horse against V formation first. Why don't we? God, again, it's so I can't believe I put Torres on this team because it's like Vatira, Jorius, Torres makes it tough. Makes it a tough exercise. On the other side, Rise was awesome. Juicy, a player that I really liked. I thought he was great until the Team Secret series, and even that one, it was like it felt like it was like I felt like Eugen could have performed a little better there. And then Lockie, who did not have a great event, neither did Torres. Man, what am I gonna do here? You know what? This is how we're gonna do it. It's like a lame like Jorius made the grand finals and was awesome for Dignitas, and then Vatira is Vatira. Like whatever. I'm not happy about it. I wish this team could go farther. We're just gonna do it, and then we got to get to the playoffs anyways. So let's just speed this train along. Weakest player in this matchup is Amphis, and we go from there. Strongest player is Drali. I've seen enough. Incredible. I'll just go 3-1 because they can't all be. Or no, how about this? Because it's a reverse. They're trying to 2, and then which one of these seems like it would be a 3-1? This is let's do this one. No, this one. No, this one. Why not? All right. I can't believe it. They really bowed out. All right, let's move on to our main event. But before we do, let's check out our Buckholz. Dang. Look at the Solar Lions, a 7 Buckholz. I think the highest from Raleigh, if I recall, didn't Ultimates have a 5 or a 6? Or was it Furia? It was one of those two teams that had a really high one. And then yeah, that all seems about right? All right, let's move on to our main event. Our top 8 teams. Another Battle of the Birds down here. Yeti going up against a horse. Bear going up against Ninetails. And then a Dragon going up against a Fire Lion. Some great matchups. Let's do the upper quarters first because everybody stays alive. And let's just do knee jerks. I really like both of these teams. I've sang their praises. I think once you get into a best of 7 here, I think that probably favors experience. I'm going to go 4-2. And then here, Dragonfire. Hey, look at Justin, a top seed back on Raleigh. The crowd's in tears. You love to see it. I think that they're probably going to win a close one here as well. Just like they got it all covered. All 3 of these players are really good defensively. And then I really like just like Nobu being like, hey man, do your thing. And Rawas is no slouch. Like he's such a great defender that we always start there. But he's great offensively as well. Down here, I think it's finally the time. I think Torres making a top 8 is excellent. But Rocket League is a game of 3 the RLCS is a game of 3 players. And I think the flaws probably start to show here. I'm going to go 4-2. This is where Vatira was eliminated anyways, for what it's worth. And then down here, Atomic, Kalirs, and Kaka, who's the weakest player in this matchup, in my opinion. This is where Drali really showed some cracks, especially in that game 5, if you remember, where he had that corner whiff. This is where he started to go downhill, and also neither of these other players even made top 8. So let's go ahead and go 4-2 and 4-3, big win there. This is our top 6. This feels about right, doesn't it? I mean, Kaka stands out like a sore thumb here, just because of like that's a huge placement for an OCE player. But again, remember, it's like outside of their current context. This feels right. I feel like these feel like 6 really strong teams. I'm not upset with this. Let's do our lower quarters. Why don't we? We'll keep the screen locked right here. Now that we're down to top 6, let's take our time. Let's really get to know these teams. Again, shout out to Cody for putting this together. I could not have done this exercise without him. The same goes for Direct. With that being said, let's look at our sheets. Who's our first matchup? Excuse me. Arctic going up against 3 Eagles. Does anything stand out there? Let's put these back in order. Arctic is up top, and then 3 Eagles. Let's pull them up. 3 Eagles with the scoring advantage. Arctic with the shooting advantage, though. And then there's just a huge advantage for them in demos, an extra demo per game. Arctic also sustain a lot of demos, and 3 Eagles are pretty elusive. It's a huge moment for Scribbles. I could see the nerves kind of getting to him a little bit. I feel like nerves kind of hit Swift a little as well. And then on the other side, Appjack, steely, despite getting absolutely killed by Falcons up here, they bounce back and make a great march to a grand finals. And then again, I was just so impressed by Atomic over the course of this event. I think I'm going to go 4-2. First event for Scribbles, huge position for him here. This team could just never figure out their offensive identity, I think. Just too much pressure in demos, despite them being a great defensive team, and defense being a weakness for 3 Eagles. It was unable to be exploited at a high level. Let's look at Solar Lions going up against, what was that? Stallions, right? It was Stallions. Great jersey matchup. I feel like these colors would look really good on the fellas. And then I would love these on these guys too. God, these jerseys would be so cool. I love that color combination. All right, Solar Lions going up against Stallions. Slight advantage in scoring, slight advantage in assists. Not a lot of saves for the Solar Lions, but I think that's more of a positional thing, right? Because Atau is not that for his team. Monkey Moon isn't really that, and neither is Mata. So it's kind of positional. Shooting advantage for Stallions as well, which makes sense. Again, Clears was over 4 shots a game and over a goal per game. So that's a plus. I think he was like 27% shooting on the event, which is unbelievable at that clip. Big demo advantage. Atau kind of making his way here, and Stallions not a team that get a lot of demos on the outset, so unable to take advantage of Solar Lions, who can kind of give them up. You know what? I think I'm just leaning Solar Lions. They feel like the stronger team here. I was very impressed by Mata. Even if he's just like your third, he's the third for Team Secret, and I was very, very impressed by his quality. And it was one of the points that I made in my last video. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. It's shorter than this one. And I was talking about how Rocket League, with it only being a 3-man game at the highest level, if your third can really pop, it can be a huge difference maker, even historically. I'm really just feeling the Solar Lions. I think I'm going to take them here. And this is our top 4. I feel good about it. These feel like 4 very, very strong teams. If I had to power rank them, I think number 1 versus number 4, and then probably 2 versus 3. I feel pretty good about that. With that being said, I think that they're going to be challenged here. But I just really think that they're going to struggle defensively. And let's give them 2 just because we're being fun. But this Dragonfire team, very, very strong. What's the gap here? I think you can put any of these players anywhere you want. Outside of like Naopo leans offensive, Justin leans a little defensive minded. But I think this is just a great team. If you want to beat them, I think you really have to come out and punch them in the mouth early and get them a little off their skates, because I think Rawas has been around too long. Nobu, even though I did feel like, if we're going to picky nits, Twisted Minds, it did feel like down the stretch of that NRG series, he kind of faded a little bit, maybe a bright spotlight. But even with that being said, I never felt like Twisted Minds were totally out of that series. Probably a top 2 series that I've ever seen live, certainly. But I think Dragonfire are super strong here. And then down in the bottom, is this a rematch? Did we get them in Swiss? I can't recall. I feel like we did. Maybe not. Yeah. And we had Vision Quest winning. And you know what? Maybe they just keep it going. Really strong showing. Oh my goodness. The Solar Lions from out of nowhere pull off a shocking upset. Monkey Moon stands on the middle of the stage. He takes his shirt off. He puts it into a t-shirt cannon. He shoots it up. T-Bates catches it and starts waving it around. And he's like, I give up on North America. Monkey Moon's the best. And a really solid hair trio. Have we talked about this yet? Zen, Kofor, Chronic. That's like three really solid hairdos. Maybe they can get a Fantastic Sam's patch on that jersey. And then on our grand finals, despite having, why do I like this team so much? Despite having a 7 Buckholz and running through the gauntlet here, going up against Dragonfire, Stallions with Kalirs, the MVP, Atomic, an excellent player, and then running over a team that I just think makes a lot of sense on paper. They have clawed their way all the way here, but unfortunately, this Dragonfire roster is just so strong. Congratulations to Justin. The Confetti Falls Roas, the RLs, yes, the Raleigh champion repeats, holds it down here for Falcons. Nobu lifts up the trophy. The haters are melting on Twitter, and it doesn't last that long because everybody's super excited for Justin here. If you wanted to make a case, if they were to lose, I think they could lose either of these two matchups here. I really just kind of coasted them to the finish because I do think that team, just like looking at it, I'm like, man, I really like that team. If you had to pick some holes, it's like who's your vocal leader? It's probably like if you have a split of this, it's probably Justin. And Rawas has been there too. Like it's not like, this is new territory for Nobu, but he's been here. But they should. I talked about the importance of pressure. They should win all of these. And I think this is a very dangerous matchup for them. I feel like up here they could probably, honestly, all of these are dangerous matchups. It's not like they really coast all the way here. But I do think this is dangerous. And so is this one as well. But yeah, I think Rawas has been around the block too many times, and they just show up and show out. Huge stage from Mata. Guys, that's the event. Let's scroll through here. Evergreen and Banana Boys go home early. Early exit for Beast Mode, Yan, TRK, Eugen, Exotic. We're already dropping some huge names here. Rise and Juicy go next. Stizzy and First Killer almost get the reverse sweep into top 8. Daniel, LJ, Reveal go home early. Huge result for Sphinx. Raleigh, this is where he leaves. V Formation, Stallions, Arctic. Really, there's honestly like bigger names on these teams down here, but I felt good as we were doing the exercise, And then our top 4: Vision Quest, 3 Eagles, the Solar Lions, and Dragonfire lift the trophies. Guys, that's it for the Raleigh Randomizer. What do you think? What teams are you higher on than I was? What teams are you lower on than I was? Who would you like to see most in this hypothetical? Which 2 teams would you be like, oh, that's so spicy? I'd love to see how that would work out. Any thoughts, comments? Excited to see them all below. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to tune into this. I hope that it was a good something to watch while you were, on a walk at the gym, making some food. Not at work, because guys, we lock in as the niche Bel Air Rocket League community. But thank you as always for your time. Shout out D-Rec, shout out Cody again, and until next time, guys, take it easy.